parallel. Okay, so not too wide. You're thinking of your skeletal hips, that's that width, and not your silhouette, shall we say. So you're thinking about where your bony mass of your hips are, and your knees directly underneath there, and ankles underneath, and so on. So you're thinking of with the fingertips reaching towards the floor, you've let the shoulders just lower slightly away from the earlobes. You're just breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And if you need to, just find that spot on the horizon to remind yourself that you don't need to look at me, at the device, at anything else that's going on for a moment, and just gently close your eyes if you wish, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Perhaps if it feels comfortable for you, we can do a little bit of swaying. We did some work on sway work last week, just making sure that we're aware that we use the whole of the body, even in this standing position, just starting to fire up perhaps the whole of your front and back muscles, thinking about the core slightly as well. Or just as you're here breathing in, just notice and aware the whole of the body is responding to your breath. So as you breathe in, imagine yourself then obviously inflating these lungs. You're going to imagine yourself just gently pressing with energy to the left and right of your chest there. So this rib cage just gently filling in the space between the side of your chest and the upper arm. Okay, so we're really trying to think about that expansion of the chest left and right, and not necessarily by lifting the shoulders, okay, or letting the diaphragm press down into the organs so you get that belly breathing response. Feel the chest expanding as you breathe in and give those ribs a bit of a stretch. Think a little bit perhaps about maybe a bit of energy into the heels. Okay, so you're feeling like you're almost grounded into the mat there with your heels. And as you breathe in, feel the opposite energy coming up through the top of the head. So you've got those two connection points, the heels into the mat and the crown of the head right at the tippy top of you there, reaching up towards the ceiling or the sky if you are outside. And as you exhale, go ahead now, think about the engagement of the core and pelvic floor. Let's think about drawing those in together for the next 4 breaths. As you exhale, bring that belly to spine, just gently drawing in through the belly button to spine, and the pelvic floor area just drawing up and underneath you. A couple more breaths in, find that lovely space in your body as you exhale, and give your muscle work a hug over this lovely torso and underneath the pelvic floor, just drawing up. And this is possibly your last breath here. And when you have finished, and if you have your eyes closed, open your eyes and bring yourselves back into the room. Well done. Just keep the shoulders fairly low, okay, but just raise your fingertips and place them onto the top of those shoulders. All right, you've still got that lovely sense of the belly button slightly drawing in, so a bit of engagement here, maybe a gentle activation of the pelvic floor, and then gently the heels into the mat. Just thinking of now just drawing circles on the side of the wall, either side of you, on the wall perhaps either side, on the room either side, and just gently rotating through the shoulders. Again, now think about what I mentioned about the response of your body. Okay, so do think about how your whole body is feeling as you roll the shoulders back. Do you feel perhaps a stretch all the way down the front of the torso, even below the belly button into the pubic bone area? And maybe even you think about that slight neck stretch as those shoulders roll as well. Release then and reverse the opposite direction. So pausing and rotate the other way. How does this feel? Not only in the shoulder joint, do you feel that sense again of that gentle tugging of the torso, of the core muscles as you lift your shoulders slightly sky high? As you scoop around the shoulder blades, do you feel that slightly separating area around the lower shoulder blade area and again around that neck? Okay, so we're going to pause here and release the hands down by our sides. Well done. Turn the palms away from you, soften your knees towards your toes. So you start to feel a bit of a stretch the back of the calf muscles there. All righty, again, belly in. So try not to lean forwards. You're feeling like you're up against the wall at the back here and tall through the crown of the head. Palms, as I say, facing back. I'd like you to just gently press those arms away and stretch your fingertips to the back of the floor behind you or the back of the mat. Come back to the start position with a breath in. Exhale, pressing back. Okay, well done, breathing in. Now, this is to remind you a little bit, as I say, from last week, of that rib cage connection, okay? To get these arms behind you, you may feel like your body really would like to go into a bit of back extension, but you want to think about pulling down the ribs towards the front of you here and gently bringing that pelvic floor area up and in, therefore stabilizing not only the pelvis, but also that back, our lumbopelvic stabilization as you exhale. Okay, and pause this time with the arms behind you. I'm going to remain as you are so you can see what happens here. Again, shoulders low. Imagine two little tiny sandbags sat on your shoulders now, nice and low, heavy towards the side of you, either side of you. As you bring your hands towards the back of the room behind you, belly is in, we're going to challenge ourselves even more by imagine you've got two little strings or ropes on your elbows or pulleys, and they're lifting up towards the ceiling, not very far, and back down. So this is now going to really challenge the control of this torso, especially the thoracic area, the rib cage. Okay, as your elbows lift, do you feel like your shoulders are lifting, or can you equally press the shoulders down to stop yourself from going into this hiking of the shoulders? Okay, so just gently pulling the elbows to your side, almost like you're trying to almost slide those forearms and palms up the wall behind you, you see? Okay, we've got two more. As we wake up the shoulder girdle, and as I say, the whole of this torso, last one, and then pause and bring yourself back into your standing position. Okay, so lift the fingertips now towards each other. Again, shoulders are nice and low, back and down, but we've really warmed up our messages from the mind to body to talk about this control for the torso. Let's focus a bit more on the pelvis. Can you go ahead and lift your left heel, please, for me, onto the toes on the left? Now we're going to take that left leg behind us just slightly to the back corner of the mat, okay? But try and keep the hips, shoulders, and your eye line facing forwards. We're going to gently soften the knees now, so you're into this curtsy squat, okay? Again, belly in, slightly taking that pelvis towards the front in case you've rotated to the side, okay? Bring yourself back to center, lift the right heels onto the right ball of the foot, and go ahead towards the right back corner, over the, the left back corner, beg your pardon, crossing over behind you, softening the knees, and bring yourself back to center. One more either side. Now you work on your range, guys, okay? So don't forget, you might not get to the mat altogether. You might just get a soften of the knees and back to center. You might want to not step too far away, okay? If your hips don't really like being in a slight twist, then don't go so far. Don't go so far or so deep, and bring yourself back to center. Over to the right one more time, pausing here. Let's open the arms to the side and reach those fingertips from the side to side of you, through the shoulder joint, the elbow, the wrist to the fingertips. Come back to center. If you can, come into a knee raise, or perhaps a toe touch or a toe float is all that's available to you. Pause here, and we're going to go back over to the right-hand side. So let's repeat this over to the side. As you do so, extend the arms facing forwards and bring yourself into toe touch or knee raise. Over to the side. Okay, well done. And back to center, challenging that balance. And as I said before, just challenging that pelvis. Okay, as you wake it up, taking it slightly out of its possible comfort zone of moving forwards and backwards, as you do a lot in our functional everyday life. Okay, nice and low. Well, sorry, only low if you want to, but as low as you can go. And last one, pausing in the center. Again, knee raise if you can, or just a toe touch. And we're going to switch sides. So place your feet back down. Arms a gentle roll off if you need to. If it just feels like they're getting a bit naggy, then just give them a small moment's reprieve. Okay, our right heel lifts and we're heading to that back left corner. So over we go to the left, find your maximum range. Again, hips facing forwards and reach those arms to the side. Back to center, choosing into toe touch or knee raise. And over we go to the side. Well done. And let's think about maybe a breath in when we start. I haven't even mentioned breath yet. And exhale as you head to the corner, breathing in. Remember, long reach of the arms. You're not necessarily looking to just pull the shoulder blades together. You're thinking long and wide, giving those shoulders a nice stretch, or the humerus bone, a stretch out of the shoulder joint, I should say. Last two. And when we finish this final one, bringing yourself back into your center position, just pause, reset to the center in knee raise or toe touch, and release down by your sides. Gorgeous, well done. Our legs are heading a little bit wider, okay, this week. Not too over exaggerated, maybe about the width of your mat toes, slightly pointing out to the corners. We're going to head back into a small squat. I'd like you to just start off by popping your hands into your heart space, shoulder blades back and down. Almost give yourself, your chest a bit, your rib cage a bit of a hug with these elbows in by your sides. Okay, belly button in. Now we're going to now bring the bottom towards the back of the mat, okay, behind you, and the belly is in. Now we're going to try not to arch the back. So you're still thinking like you're perching yourself down a little stool at the back there. Now I'm going to turn to show you. Okay, so you're just perching towards the back of the mat. So not looking to arch, not looking to lean forwards. We're kind of a 45-degree angle here. All righty, then bring yourself back up into start position, breathing in. Exhale, gently back, and then bring yourself back up. Okay, so technically this is not necessarily a Pilates piece, but we're mobilizing, of course, the knee joint, the hip joint, and we're working the glutes. Okay, so it's part of our dynamic mobilization as we just start off warming the hips. And so I beg your pardon, warming the muscles and mobilizing the joints. Well done. And last two. I'm going to pause down here, guys. So just taking that pause. Alrighty, and bring your arms out towards the front, okay? So you'll bring it, your belly button is still pulled in. We're going to head into our gentle bow and arrow, hips staying forwards, just into a gentle bow and arrow, and then back to the start position, arms forward. And the other side, elbow coming towards the back of the mat as you look over the shoulder, following the direction of the elbow. We get some nice twisting through the spine. Next time you come to the back with your elbow, just pause. I don't mind which elbow it is. We're going to send the arm out now towards the back of the room or the back of your mat or behind you. So you've got one arm forwards, one arm back. Turn your palm now to the outside edge of your body or mat. Swing the arm up and over just to get a bit more juice from that stretch at the spine and also the shoulder. Opposite elbow reaches behind you. Send it behind so you've got both arms reaching away from each other. Turn your palm outwards away from the middle of your mat. Lift it up and over. Get a big old stretch. Let's do two more either side. Bow and arrow. Swing the arm to the back of the room. Rotation of your hand. Up and over, and just start position. Hopefully we're feeling that we're getting some nice mobilization through the shoulder, but making those thighs work a bit as we're in this isometric pause and squat. Arm up and over. This is our last one. Well done. And sweep the arm up and over. Pop in your hands now onto those thighs. Just pause for a second as you transfer the weight perhaps into the thighs a little bit. Bring yourself into a gentle bit of back flexion where you're looking maybe down towards your belly button or your pubic bone. And then gently lifting your gaze now into a small bit of extension. So you're now pushing your heart space as your chest plate forwards. And then one more time into flexion. Okay, so much like a cat stretch we do. You're gently trying to find a bit of spine stretching forwards and backwards, and then bring yourself back up with a gentle roll, restack of the spine, and walk your heels back into the center. Step away to the end of the mat. So that should have just warmed us up a little bit for a roll down. If you want to soften your knees, you're more than welcome. I think it's always a pretty good idea, to be honest, to soften the knees. If you wish to have straight leg roll down, it's totally up to you. Bring the belly into spine, shoulder blades back and down. I'm going to soften my knees, bring your belly button in as you start to imagine yourself diving over the front of this belly space, rolling down towards your mat face. Okay, so you're rolling down when the knees, you might find that you can have legs straight, but if you can't, bend the knees so your hands get onto the mat itself, and you're going to walk forwards, and we're very temporarily going to be in the plank. If you do not like a plank, then once you get there, just soften the knees to the mat. Okay, that is absolutely fine. Okay, otherwise I just want you to pause in plank for a moment and just feel the length of the body all the way from the crown to your tailbone. If your legs are elevated, perhaps you can feel it all the way down to your heels. Just pause and stretch through the whole of the spine, and then everyone settle your knees down to the mat. Soften your toes if they're tucked under, which they probably are, and just ease back into a gentle child's pose or a rest position. It doesn't have to be a deep position here for a moment, while you await the next instruction, which is to bring ourselves into a 4-point kneeling position. So bring yourselves up so your hands are under your shoulders. Okay, and knees are roughly under your hips. Do be careful. We quite often see in class, okay, that these knees are pretty close to the heels of the hands. Alrighty, and you've got that knee tuck underneath you, almost like the knee is under the belly button. I want you to really think about those knees being directly under the hips if you can. Okay, so first of all, we're going to do some shoulder blades immobilization. I'd like you to think about those shoulder blades. You've got them, these beautiful triangle bones, like wings behind you there across the shoulders. Let's think about not doing anything with the lower spine, but I want you to now press the shoulder blades away from each other. Okay, so you can imagine your chest lifting perhaps up towards the sky. And you're probably finding, again, we mentioned this response thing, your natural response will be to drop the head. That's fine, let it go slightly, but don't really tuck it under. We're not looking to get into a cat stretch, we're just focusing on the shoulder blades. Now, here's a slightly more tricky bit for people to get. Elbows stay straight, please, for me. Now your shoulders are going to now come together. The shoulder blades are going to almost knit together over your spine, as if they're meeting together in the middle, like you're trying to crack a walnut or hold onto a pencil there between them. But don't dip into the lumbar spine. Keep that belly button pulled in. Let's see if we can then complete that a couple more times, lifting towards the ceiling and then releasing the chest between the arms. I like to think of these arms almost like two ends of a bridge or a suspension bridge, or even sometimes what do you call it, a little catapult, you know, kids catapult, and these two arms are nice and strong, and then you've got this bendy, lovely fluid movement you've got going of the shoulder blades of the thoracic area between the two. Yeah, so strong through the arms and find that movement through the shoulder blades. We're going to find our halfway house if you can. So between the two, neither too elevated or depressed down towards the mat, pausing here. All right, now time to just think about the hips. A couple of pelvic tilts for me might just help you release the lower spine. So nothing happening at all in the upper spine, but just do 2 or 3 pelvic tilts forwards and backwards with that hip area for me, coming into again your neutral position, neither too far forwards nor backwards. Then we have our perfect 4-point kneeling. Tuck your toes under one more time. Let's get them back tucked under. Okay, so you've got this lovely position of the spine, the shoulders there, and the hips. Your right kneecap, I would like you now to just keep your toes down on the right, but lift your right kneecap, not so that your leg lifts to the side, but so that your knee directly travels up to underneath the hip towards the ceiling, and then it's almost like you've got this seesaw effect over the back of the hips there. Come back down with the knee, and now let's go on the left. Left kneecap lifts, it travels directly under the hip towards the sky and back down. So we sometimes call this hip hitching, okay? If you had a little tea tray across the hips, across the back of your pelvis here, okay, you would find that everything piles off towards one side as you hip hitch, and then you come back into your parallel position and the tea tray resets. Okay, so you've got to imagine that sense of piling everything off one side, then you come back to neutral. But you're really not trying to rock and roll through the whole of the shoulders. So you're not trying to move the waist. It's really that kneecap directly traveling up and under, as if it was trying to get itself into that little hip socket all by itself. Okay, well done. And final one, come back to center. Now this is important because we're going to now try both legs and knees lifting. Imagine your head now cannot travel forwards. The wall has come in front of your head. There is no movement towards the front of the mat over those fingertips. So imagine you're set there. When you're ready, breathe in, lift both knees now, and releasing back down, breathing in. Exhale, pull down with the armpits, pull down with the rib cage. Neck still nice and long. You don't need to see what's going on. Yeah, okay, nice. Again, knees are traveling directly underneath the hip joint. Okay, so I'm not going to see any of this where you're popping forwards. You're not popping back into child's pose or into a little ready crouch position. You're just driving those kneecaps directly, working the shoulders a little bit more here, and pause with the knees down. Let's go ahead and flatten the feet and just take your weight off the wrist for a second. If you want to tuck your fingernails underneath towards your nose, you can stretch over the front of your wrists. Okay, so that's a very immediate response of being tucked at the angle of the hands, sorry, as they were in 4-point kneeling, or maybe you just want some wrist rotations just to get some movement going. Okay, depends on how you feel. Okay, if you are struggling with the wrist, this piece can be done in triangles, this next one. Okay, so this is triangles, elbows down. But remember the positioning you got into with the shoulders. Do you remember our little catapult or our bridge, suspension bridge? Find that happy halfway house, and the same for the hips if you are moving into triangles. If you're in 4-point kneeling, come back up. Okay, now we're going to take this up a level. Let's start off with the right, sorry, toe stepping under for everybody, lifting and elevating your right knee off the mat so you've got a bit of a hitch of the hips. Go ahead and now extend that right leg out behind you. Okay, and reach that leg nice and long. Okay, really super long, and bring that knee back in. All righty, toes down, knees down, lifting your left kneecap. Go ahead and lift and extend that left leg. Okay, so we've got a bit of a hip hitch and also a stretch of the leg. Now back to the right side, knee float and extend the leg to the side. Now pause here. I'd like you now to turn to your right, lift your hip to the right and check out the right side of your body. Okay, from here we're going to circle. I want you to single leg circles, just working on that leg there, but we're just slightly externally rotated with this leg, a little bit more into the glute there, well done. That's it, well done. And you're thinking of probably a large dinner plate, maybe small hula hoop, opposite direction when you're ready. Well done. And pausing with the leg elevated. Now just think about bringing your knee underneath you and switching. So your left knee is raised, and go ahead and reach the leg behind you. Turning to your left now, opening the hips slightly towards the left side of you. And ahead, again, reach that leg nice and long and single leg circles. We're looking at about 5 each way, guys. Okay, your arms should be fairly straight still if you can. So not looking to duck down on this in this particular piece. Arms fairly straight, belly in and switching sides. Sorry, switching direction. Last 2 and last 1. Okay, bring the knee back underneath you. Okay, we have a bit of a challenge piece here. This is our last piece on 4-point kneeling for the moment. If you're in triangles, if you want to go into triangles, do. We're going to hover these knees. So pull down with your armpits, think about your positioning of the spine, and double knee float if you can. I would like you now to take one leg out behind you and touch the floor and bring that back in. Now switch sides. Okay, this is our challenge with the knee joint. If you feel like a touch is enough to the back of the mat, then that's fine. If you'd like to go a bit harder and take it out towards knee, hip height, you're more than welcome. The knees will slowly walk in towards you. So try and keep those knees directly under the hips if you can. We've just got a couple more either side, or please go ahead and rest in child's pose if you've just had enough, and pop your knees down and rest off there. Gorgeous. Well done. All right, the good news is we're going to head into our supine lying position. So you can just roll over now, pop in your backs on the mats, your knees will be bent. Feet flat on the floor, hands by your sides. Okay, so we're in our standard supine lying position. Okay, so we did a little bit of leg extension there, which is rather nice. Okay, we worked our glutes a little bit. We're going to just do almost a copy of this, but activating the different side of the body. And we're lying down now, so you've got a little bit less pressure, obviously, on the shoulders. Shoulder blades are back and down, mind you. Hands are by your sides, fingertips reaching slightly to the heels. Chin slightly tucked into your throat space, and then find that lovely core. So bring in the belly button and we Velcro it into the spine. And then it's your choice then if you want to be in neutral or in imprint. Okay, so you can do this piece in neutral. Imprint's actually slightly harder perhaps because we go into leg extension. Okay, you might find that's a little bit hard for the back to have the for you to have the tilt of the pelvis. So maybe neutral's good, but it's totally up to you. When you're ready, breathing in, core nice and strong, as I say, pelvic floor in as well. Exhale, single leg extension away and along the mat, and bring the leg back in. Now you can pop that leg on the mat at the end if you want to, or you can just hover and have that freedom of just hovering above the mat so you get a bit more stretch. Single leg reach, and back in. And final 2, breathing in, exhale as you reach, stretch that thigh bone out of the hip socket, and having a gorgeous long stretch through the hip joint and bring yourself back to neutral. Okay, so we're going to just add on slightly. Taking the left leg now, extend it away along the mat, and I'd like you to take your foot into flexion. So you've got dorsiflexion, I should say. So you've got your toes pulling up towards the ceiling. Okay, so now we're going to go everybody into imprint. I'd like you to try and think about squashing a Malteser below your spine there, below the lower back, and lift your leg towards the ceiling. Okay, if you have that imprint, you'll find that happens naturally. That's your response mechanism because you've tilted the pelvis. We're going to head into point and lower the leg towards the floor. Breathing in, bring the leg towards the ceiling in a dorsiflexion or a high five. Point towards the end of the mat. So this little pattern of flexion and point, we're going to replicate shortly, but in bridge, okay? So I just want you to practice, and we're just stretching the leg here with the safety of the bottom down. And last one. And place that leg back down on the floor. We're going to switch sides, extend the right leg now along the mat and reach, reach, reach. Into dorsiflexion, toes towards the ceiling. Again, just enter imprint, lifting the leg to the sky. And you'll feel that natural sense of the lower spine going onto the mat. That's fine. Into point and lower towards the floor, stretching the front of the leg, and up in dorsiflexion, stretches the muscles at the back of the leg. Into point and into dorsiflexion. Well done. Last couple. Really reach that leg nice and long. Keep the rib cage connected. Keep the arms long as well by your sides. And final one. And bring that foot back down and in supine lying position. Okay, go ahead and bring those hands a little bit closer towards your bottom cheek. So you've got the thumbs just sort of resting, nestling underneath the buttocks. And I want you to bring both legs in towards your chest for me, please. Go ahead and extend both legs towards the sky. Okay, so we're going to have those legs in a reasonably pointed position. Okay, I don't want you to point so much that you start to get any cramp or anything. If you need to have the legs slightly bent, that's fine. All right, we're going to think ourselves about the left-right positions now. You want to take the legs down together, just gently towards the left and gently towards the right. Now, you won't get very far. Okay, if you feel right with legs straight, it's a little bit too much, go ahead into tabletop, and this can be done in tabletop. Just moving the legs from side to side. Well done. And come back to center. And pause here. Now take your arms out towards the side of you. They're looking to be round about a Y shape, okay, so beyond the mat, and I want to have palms down, please. Go ahead and do the same piece again. Just tick-tock the legs from side to side and see how this feels. Okay, maybe you can get a little bit further without the thumbs there. Maybe it feels terribly uncomfortable in the lower spine. If it does, then you're more than welcome again to have the legs down in tabletop. Or if it gets more tricky, you'd rather have the feet on the floor, go ahead and just take it down a level where your feet are supported on the mat. Okay, next level, bring yourself back to center. Turn the palms up towards the ceiling and elevate your hands now off the floor by about 5 centimeters or so. Let's try again. How do we feel now? Perhaps not quite so gung-ho. You're thinking of the hips trying to stay down, the pelvis staying down as much as it can. Okay, so I don't want you to get those legs towards the floor. You're just looking to try and think about the movement of the thigh bone in the hip socket. Okay, but there will be some control obviously happening with the obliques here and the waist. Okay, well done. This is our last one with the arms elevated, making it most difficult. So we're going to finish off here. Legs come back to center, bend them into tabletop. If they're not there already, pop your both feet back down the mat, hands down by your sides. Bring your knees into your chest. Okay, so gentle rock from side to side, small little circles if you need to, and place those feet back down. So I did mention we were going to come back to that dorsiflexion and plantar flexion of the ankles, but we're going to do this in bridge. So bring the heels quite snug up towards your bottom, not so far, if you've got that knee joint ability, not so far that you feel like your knees are almost forwards over the toes. So you're kind of looking to have a gentle bend at the angle at the knee, but not completely tucked in. All right, so bridge, we did some lovely work on bridge last week. So you'll be familiar with the sense of your feet being in alignment with your knees, your neck slightly in towards your chest and hands down by your sides. We talked about the starting point of that little lift of the marble or the pelvis, marble rolling into the belly button area where you tuck down into that lower spine, pressing into that imaginary Malteser and then sending it away. So just 1 or 2 first at the base of the spine, tilting forwards and backwards. We're then going to head slightly further up. So once you've got that belly button down on the mat, pressing right to this mid-center, then start to peel up just above the back of the belly button there. Perhaps you're looking at pressing into the lower rib cage down onto the mat, and then release that section between the lower rib cage and the belly button, and then roll back over onto the tailbone so that your pubic bone is pressing away from the direction of your nose. One more time, lifting up to the lower rib cage. And exhale, sinking down that mid-spine behind the belly button, down over the buttock cheeks, and then finding a little space in the lower back, pubic bone away. Heading up now towards that lovely lower shoulder blade area, which we dug around in right at the beginning of class, and then releasing back down. And we've got one more meander up to the shoulder blades, and we're going to then hold with the lift. Okay, so coming back up to your maximum range. Don't forget, when you get there, you've still got that rib cage connection. Okay, not looking to just try and arch too high or ending up on that neck space. You're broad across the shoulder blades, and your intention is to find that sort of almost a ski slope between the throat space here and your kneecaps. Okay, if you can, pressing down slightly with the hands and arms on the mat, knees pressing away from you as well. Distribute that weight. Okay, so we mentioned we're going to take ourselves into leg extension. Let's start with marching legs. So press into the right sole of the right foot and lift your left leg into tabletop for marching. We're going to place the left leg down and switch so the right leg is elevated. Have a think about the response of the movement. Okay, so the limb is moving on, or your leg limb is moving. How much are your hips staying stable? How much are they having to dip from side to side? How much is your core having to work to keep the stable pelvis? Okay, your obliques are working busily, okay, as well as your hip muscles, okay, as obviously is also your joint and the joints around your quads and your hamstrings slightly, and your glutes more. Okay. Last two, pausing this time one more time with the right foot down, left leg into marching tabletop position. If you can, we're going to extend that leg towards the sky and flex at the ankle. Now this time we're going to do the opposite. So we're starting towards the sky with flexion, dorsiflexion, or a flat foot to the ceiling. And then we're going to pull down with that dorsiflexion and then point when you get to the bottom and lift to the sky. Now we're back into our dorsiflexion, or a right angle at the ankle. Then we get down into point along the mat and lift and point to the ceiling. Pull down with the heel and lift with the toes. Pull down with the heel and lift with the toes. Okay, place that foot back down. We're going to go ahead straight on in there and switch sides. So let's go ahead and bring your right leg into tabletop. Right leg extends to the ceiling, dorsiflexion. So you're high-fiving the ceiling. Pull down with the heel. So you've got that right angle. And then point with a pointed toe towards the sky. Pull down with the heel, nice, and up with a point. If you're really struggling, please do go ahead and pull the bottom back down. You're more than welcome, or you can just place both feet down and do 2 or 3 more bridge lifts and lowers. And it's our last time down in dorsiflexion and lifting in point. And place that foot back down. And let's all go ahead and just interlace our fingers over the shoulder area, take the hands over the head. And that just helps us get a bit more into that thoracic spine, okay? Because you've just got that lift, that's like movement out, the shoulder blades out of the way. Let's go ahead and find that spine. Try and press the spine down, the vertebrae now one at a time. We're thinking behind the back of the rib cage there. Find that lower rib. Find that little parking space, that little kind of gatepost, signpost, milestone on the way down, heading down behind that belly button area, rolling over onto the lower pelvis, pushing away the pelvis. So you've got that arch in the lumbar spine, the lower back, and then rest into neutral spine. Release the hands back over your head. Well done, drawing your knees back into your chest. Well done, little roll from side to side. Just a little massage to the back. We won't do too much more on the back there. We did some bridge work last week and this week, so let's give it a rest. We're rolling onto our side. So just bring your knees over to the side. We're going to start off with our head supporting our hands, our hands supporting our head. Okay, as I'm showing you now, elbow just down and upper arm on the mat as well. Okay, so we're nice and lengthened down this mat. Yeah, once you've got here, because sometimes that's the best way of just finding your starting position. So you know you're in alignment, yeah? Hips in alignment, shoulders in alignment, not necessarily rolling too far forwards or back. Belly is in, just as with everything else. That sense of the control center just starting off the piece. Maybe the pelvic floor is kind of up to you. Bring your knees towards the front, not a huge distance towards the front, maybe the front edge of the mat. Depends a little bit on where you are there. But making sure that you haven't really got your feet kind of kicked out forwards or too close towards your bum. They're kind of the heels in alignment with your bottom cheeks here. Right, heels are going to stay together for me, guys. Imaginary ruler, a little tiny 30-centimeter ruler just is resting in front of those kneecaps. When we come into clam, I want you to think that that kneecap, that top leg kneecap, is going to stay in connection with that ruler as you lift. So you're not looking to roll and lift this top kneecap towards the back of you. Okay, that's way off. So you've got the ruler in front of your knees there. You're going to just gently lift that top knee so it measures right to the top of the ruler or your maximum range and then comes back down. That's it. Simples, okay? If you do need a guide, perhaps just check on this top hip with your hand to make sure that it's not rolling back in space, okay? Again, that's another pointer that you're not really making that top leg stay where it should be, okay? So your legs are just still, feet together, knees lifting and down. So let's bring in some other guys to the party, alrighty? As you're lifting, you're going to exhale. So breathe in, exhale as you lift. And it should be a really nice complementary feeling of the pelvic floor drawing up as well. So it's a really nice little sort of threesome of active muscle groups here. You've got this outside edge of your hip working, this glute med, this outside thigh area. You've got your belly button pulling in as you exhale and pull that belly to spine. Perhaps a gentle engagement of the pelvic floor as our last of the three as you exhale. Let's bring those guys in. And last one. And bring those legs back down and together. Okay, so this is our level one. You might want to be happy here, staying for another set, which is fine. Or can you bring your elbows slightly closer in now? So you're going to head up onto your forearm. Okay, do check your shoulder blades are back and down, almost like you're trying to pop yourself like a cork out of a wine bottle at the top of your head. Okay, don't slump down into this shoulder. Think about bringing yourself nice and long through the neck, almost like you're diving over the shoulder joint here. If that means you need to bring the elbow in slightly, do. Don't have the elbow out here. You'll be hanging out, far too much weight on the shoulder joint. So really stack yourself nicely. Use this humerus bone as a little stilt underneath you there. Well done. All right. Space under the lower rib cage. Now, just as you did before, you can stay here. That might be enough for you. And you've done one progression. You're happy with that, with the shoulder, and that lift is, you can do this here, up or down. For those who feel like they're able to, okay, we're going to actually start to think about lifting the bottom cheek off the mat. So you're elevating the hips and you're lowering. Okay, once you've got that first bit sussed, okay, and sometimes you get messages from your shoulder that just says, no, that's not for me this morning, in which case, or this afternoon, or whenever you're doing this, okay, in which case, just leave the hip lift out, okay, and when you can go back to your leg lift. For those of you who find the hip lift okay, we're going to combine the two, where you're going to hip lift and go back into your clamp. You may now have lost that sensation of the knee staying forwards, okay, so maybe regroup, redress where that knee is, okay, so you're not necessarily just lifting and rolling out towards the back of you, but you're thinking about your alignment. You're heading this body up towards the ceiling, but we're also working, of course, our oblique muscles here and a little bit more still, again, obviously, with this upper leg lift. Okay, for those who want to just do the last level, you're more than welcome to stay elevated, and we're just going to clam here and maybe even add in our arm. Okay, so this is another level. You've got a bit of a hold on this supporting arm and shoulder. We're just going to elevate and then pause and open and close arm as you head up with the knee, arm over into arc. One more time, and then gently bring yourself back down with the hip onto the mat. Gorgeous, well done. Alrighty, so from here, folks, we're just going to take ourselves into a toe tuck piece. So we're going to head onto our front and into our triangle. So bring yourself forwards. You've got a triangle position. This is just a little pause forward. Okay, you've got a triangle position of the elbows underneath the shoulders, hands are by your sides. Okay, so, sorry, big pardon. Hands are holding around each other. So either interlace your fingers, one hand is in a fist and the other one cupped round, just a solid foundation if you like. Okay, so we worked a little bit last week with our wide legs, okay, just trying to make it nice and comfortable for the lower back. This time we're going to think about, not that it's uncomfortable, but we're going to try and think about these legs being in parallel, and for reasons you'll see in a moment. Tuck your toes under. Okay. And we did our single leg kick last week, so we were a little bit aware of that sense of gently pulling ourselves forwards. Let's do that again. Shoulder blades back and down. A little bit of pulling forwards through the crown of the head, and that might be activated by just digging the elbows in slightly into the mat and pulling yourself forwards, like your chest is trying to pull forwards or your upper body is trying to pull away from the pelvis. Okay. Think about perhaps a little tiny bit of extension in the back. So you may be thinking about almost a stretch from the belly button region there, and that's where you're going to hold, really nicely supported. Now, with this gorgeous activation of the upper body, I'm going to just simply ask you to lift your right kneecap off the floor. So you're not thinking really of much of a lift at all. The toes are staying down, but all you're doing is just lifting the left and right kneecap. So alternate from one side to the other. You breathe when they're down, exhale, kneecap lift. And when I say kneecap lift, maybe it's more of a thigh lift. For you, you might feel the thigh, the front of the thigh lifting off the mat, but the toes are still down. So all you're doing is finding a bit of clearance. Okay. All righty. Exhale as your knee float. And pause this time with the right knee floated or the thigh slightly lifted off the mat. So your leg is long, you're pulling forward, so there's space underneath that belly button. Now I just want you to simply touch your toe to the right and bring it back in. You should be feeling fairly light, okay? If it does feel like it's uncomfortable and you're really not comfortable with back extension, okay, bring yourself back down onto your forearms, onto your hands, and you can just have a pause here, okay? So this is more than enough for some people. You can still be pulling in, pulling your forehead and your upper body along the mat, so you've still got that lovely space in your spine. This is our last one. And bring yourself back to center. Go ahead and switch straight into the side. Lift your left kneecap and out and touch to the side and back in. Breathing in when you're center, exhale to the side. As you touch to the side, pull forwards and make space. Exhale, pull forwards, make space. Nice long legs. We've got 4 more. And 3. And 2. And last one. Okay, fantastic, guys. Roll back onto your side. Okay, we're going to do one more piece with our side lying. Okay, so we're back down the middle of the mat. Hands supporting the head. If you feel like you want to just have your hand out towards the side and you can rest your head down or pop a little cushion under your ear, and you can go ahead and do that. It's totally up to you how it feels. Long though, along your mat, however it is, a sense of rubberiness, like being stretched as long as you can along this mat. And I want you to think about that lovely engagement of the legs you just did a moment ago, that lovely lifting of the kneecap and that engagement of the front of your quadricep muscles, enough so that it actually starts to lift off the mat. Do that again. Feel that stretch of the legs and the engagement of your quads. And we're going to work on thinking of double leg lift. If that is not comfortable for you, then please, you can just do a single leg lift, okay? Not everyone can do the double legs, which is perfectly okay. That's singles, but if we can, we're going to see if we can go on double leg lifts and down. Breathe in when you're down, exhale with double leg lifts and lower. And lift and lower. So if you can think in your mind's eye that the guy that's doing the grunt work here is predominantly your lower inner thigh, think about that a little bit more than feeling like it's a lift with your waist and this top leg. So change your area of focus in your mind's eye, and maybe that will help slightly. Maybe it will just distract you. I don't know, but maybe you can think about that being as a lift of the lower inner thigh as it lifts the top leg. And last one, pausing with these legs lifted. Now, if you're with your single legs lift, then you just got to pause with your top leg lifted like so. For those guys now who are with your legs elevated, I want you to switch one leg so it's forward to the front edge of your mat and one leg behind. So if you're lifting with one single leg, just go ahead and place one leg behind you and the top leg is in front, okay? So your lower leg can still be on the mat at the back there. Okay, so we're now going to go into scissors. You're going to think again about engaging your core, pulling yourself along the mat. So you've got space here with the belly, space in the pelvis, and we're just going to switch sides. Now we're going to just push one leg forwards and one leg backwards. You're still trying to think about almost detaching this upper body from the lower body. If you slump too down into it, you'll find your legs are smooshing on the mat. If you have one leg towards the back, then you can just switch and switch the touch. Okay, that's fine. Whatever feels like it works for you. Well done. And we've got 4 more. and 3. And we're going to pause rather, everybody, if you can, with the top leg forwards and just place it on the floor. Okay, so for everyone now, we should be able to do this top leg forwards, and it's actually straight. So you've not got it bent down, perhaps as you've done with previous work in inner thigh work. Keeps the hips a little bit more stacked, yeah? Now our lovely back leg is just hanging out here at the back. Say hello, leg, oh, there it is. Okay, nice and long and reaching the back corner of the mat. We're just going to lift that back leg slightly to the sky with small pulses. So it's just a pulse and a pulse and a press and a press. Do you still feel like that rubbiness is happening? You're still reaching towards the top of the mat here. Okay, you've still got space here. And that gives space to this pelvis. Okay, as soon as you dump down, we dump down these muscles, the muscles relax, you just haven't got that same engagement, okay, or space to be able to enable the range of lift. Exhale as you lift. Exhale. 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 The last 2, and pause here. Readiness for circles. Small circles this time. You're looking at diddy ones compared to the ones we did behind us in all fours. We were going to be thinking about now maybe a table tennis. So not table tennis, a bit bigger maybe. Let's have some aspiration. Maybe a large orange or a side plate kind of size circles. Reverse direction when you can for 4. For 3, straight legs as much as you can. Last one, and place that leg back down. Bring both legs into center, knees into your chest for a moment. We're going to switch your root to the other side. So just gently peel yourselves up and over to the other end of the mat. Find that center of the mat again as we did last time. And we are our heads down to begin with. Bring yourself into alignment, hips over hips, shoulders over shoulders, down the middle of the mat, equidistant if you can. That's our starting point, nice and long through the whole of the spine, length, length, length. And then don't collapse that upper body and length as you just draw your knees in towards the front. Remember, your heels are roughly in alignment with your bum. Okay, so if you're looking down on you, those legs, the heels would be kind of in the middle of the mat as well. Placing a ruler in front of the knee, just as we did before. Think about the direction of travel. It's up towards the ceiling as you lift this knee, not over to the room behind you. Okay, as we said last time, if you need to just get yourself a little bit of a reminder, check this top hip bone here, this bony guy here, okay, is not opening towards the back of the mat. We're not rolling backwards. We're just sliding that knee upwards and down. Kneecap gets to the top of the ruler and down, feet stay together. Yes. Okay, so you recall this is our entry level, the first clam level piece for us. Okay, so you're down on the mat, your arm is supporting your upper body, and you are probably safe as houses here. Any shoulder issues here on the left, then you can stay down, or we're going to bring ourselves up a level with the forearm position. So just gently bring yourself up, elbow under shoulder. Again, just check where you are in space. Lift of that rib cage so you're not slumped down on this poor old shoulder here. Find space as if you're trying to imagine yourself just diving up and over this gorgeous humerus bone here on the left. Okay, again, heels stay together, and this is our next level. You've got a few more muscles active, clearly a little bit more effort with this shoulder to support you here. It's a nice isometric hold, so it's kind of static. Okay, checking in on this ruler here. So we've still got the slide and the hip is staying forwards. Nice. And for those who feel like they can, go ahead and lift that lower bottom cheek off the mat. Let's settle the knees, and we'll just start off with a few hip lifts as you just explore how you feel on this shoulder. Okay, this is not always the best friend as a move for everybody. Okay, so please don't feel you have to, and you can stay with bottom down and knee lifting in clam, or you can go ahead if you're fine with this and you can add on the clam layer. So you just breathe in and you gently bring the knee to the ceiling and back down. Really calm through this upper body if you can. Necks are long. Sometimes gets super tempting to check out what's going on down here. Okay, so stay looking out at the horizon, lifting shoulder blades back and down, and add in, if you wish, for the last few, the arc. Oh, beg your pardon, with the hold, I beg your pardon, you're lifting, and we can arc as we lift the knee, and that together with the hand to the side, lifting into arc. So this is a whole piece. The bottom stays high. You can choose any level up until this point to carry on for that last few. And 3. And 2, still, staying in alignment. And last one, gorgeous, well done. And gently bring yourself down, down, down. Okay, from here we're going to head back onto those tummies. Our last piece of prone work, and this is going to be our dart. So your forehead is going to be down on the mat. If you're wearing glasses or spectacles, you might want to take them off. If you don't like squashing your nose on the mat, you can roll the front part of your mat up 1 or 2 levels, or rolls, I should say. And you can then be hanging out here with your head on the mat. That's totally up to you. Okay, we are going to go into gentle back extension. So be aware that if you have rolled up the mat, as you come up off into extension, the mat will probably unroll. So, it depends on what you're doing or how you feel. Hands down by your sides. Okay, so bring those legs together for me, so they're going to be neighbors. In fact, to the point where you're going to glue those legs together, please. Glue the knees, inner thighs, maybe the glutes slightly engaging slightly here, and legs are together as much as you can. Alrighty, so we're going to just do our introduction to double leg kick. We did single leg kick last week, but what I'm going to do is get you to just do a simple starter intro by popping your hands into the lower back space so that you're holding on to each hand. Okay, so gentle clasp with the hands, maybe one over the other, whatever feels comfy. Then you can relax the elbows down by your sides, and one of the only times I'll say just let your shoulder blades slump up to your ears. So we've got these legs still glued together. They might have given up the ghost now, but go ahead and remind them to stay together. We're first of all going to breathe in, and as you exhale, just gently think about elevating both legs off the mat and then placing them back down. Breathing in, exhale, double leg lift if you can, and down. Now again, as always, if 2 legs are just too much, or you're just not getting that lift, you can just go ahead, separate the legs slightly and just do a single leg lift. I don't mind, okay? But when we do come into gentle back extension, I'm going to ask you to keep both legs down if you're not fancying it, just because it keeps that pelvis nice and stable as we go into back extension. Okay, one thing at a time. If you're double leg lifting now, okay, then please go ahead and pause the double legs lifted. If you're not in double leg lifts, then please bring them back together to center and just pause with them down the middle of your mat. We're now going to breathe in, exhale, and as we do so, send the hands towards your bottom cheeks and roll the shoulder blades back towards each other and just gently lift your forehead off the mat. Bring that belly button in. And then release everything back down onto the mat, head, legs if they're not there already, and slide your arms back up towards the mid-spine, your lower spine gap or arch, lumbar spine, and then elbows are relaxed. Breathing in, exhale, lift the legs if you can, lift your forehead and roll the shoulder blades back, push the hands down towards your bottom cheeks, straightening your arms into your dart. Releasing back down onto the mat with a breath in, elbows relax. Exhale, lifting the legs if you can, or just your upper body lift if that's better for you. Okay, to just do one thing at a time, and you will therefore look like this. Breathing in, exhale, with just a gentle small forehead float, arms pressing down. Last time, guys, make this really count. Breathing in, exhale. Think about your form. Shoulder blades, open the chest, belly in, neck is long, legs are lifted or down and long, and then gently release back down, down, down onto the mat. Well done. Okay, so roll back onto your sides, okay, for our final side line. Okay, again, choosing your hand position could be supporting the head or down and on the floor. And nice and long, we're going to just go a little bit more obliques and side work. Okay, so you're down the middle of the mat. Remember, you can do double leg lifts. We're going to do double leg lifts, but if you can't, just go ahead and just work on that top leg lifting only. Alrighty. If you can go into doubles, breathe in, exhale, gently lift those legs to your side and back down. Again, what does your body do? Not only does it respond, because it naturally does anyway, because of the movement of the body and the skeleton in response to the muscles, but also it can be quite lazy. It can be quite cheeky and lazy. And it knows full well that it's much easier to lift these big guys, these legs, if you engage the front and your quadriceps and your tummy, because we work like this all the time. But we want to think about making sure that we avoid that by really activating the glutes, drawing down the shoulder blades. Think about the back muscles of your body. Okay. Ask them to work maybe 5-10% harder. Okay, to keep you in alignment. Nice, that's it, well done. And lift, long legs or single top leg lift. Exhale for 2 more. And this is our last one where we're pausing with either double legs lifted or that top leg elevated. Again, shoulder blades back and down, belly in, and finding now that top leg in a split, or top and back, bottom leg in split. So one forwards, one backwards. And you can either touch the legs down if you're with your one single legs, or try and keep them elevated if you're in doubles, if you were in doubles. And we're going to switch. Breathe in, exhale, and switch. Excuse me, and switch. Long legs, all right? You don't start thinking about this as being from a knee joint or a flip flap of the ankles. Purposely put them to the front and then put them to the back. And switch. Breathe in when you're switching. Exhale when you get to your front and back, or your maximum split. Well done. We've got 4 more. And 3. Last 2. And 1. Wherever you are, and we're going to have the top leg forward. So if you have to shift it, then please do like me. Place the top leg down. Again, it's straight still, so you've got a bit of space between the knee and the floor, pardon me, and it's just a bit of an anchor, if you like. Reach that top leg to the back corner of the mat, okay, so your hips are still stacked. And we're just going to lift that back leg slightly towards the sky. It's just a lift and a lift. That's it, well done. Just in case you can't see, just straight leg lifting. You're still fairly active with this front leg, okay? Try not to collapse it down. Nice and like almost a stabilizer or a kickstand on a bike there, just out to the front as we lift and lift. And then after this one, we're heading into single circles. So just single circles here. Again, from that thigh bone if you can. Well done. We've got 2 more before we reverse direction for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Well done. Place that leg back down, bring both legs in and to the front. Well done. Okay, just finishing off with one final piece before we're heading into our finishing stretches, taking or sign off. Taking your hands, we're going to place them out to the side of the mat behind you. Feet are on the mat. Knees are bent for this week as we go into our reverse plank preparation or shoulder support preparation. Shoulder blades back and down, open out the chest. Okay, so we're going to have our legs about hip width apart, knee in the same line as your ankles, looking up towards the horizon. Remember, this is now not about articulation of the spine. So we're not trying to peel up. We're trying to think about the shoulders working here, chest nice and open. Breathe in for me when you can. Just gently exhale and lift your bottom off the mat. And think about what I just said. This is not about peeling up and down. This is using the shoulders, using the humerus bone and the shoulder joint to be able to lift this spine like it's set, like it's a hinge, like it's a single pole. Touch them down, breathe in, exhale, lift. Well done. Okay, if you guys are here thinking, I just want to do the full thing, then you're more than welcome to extend both legs to the end of the mat, bring both toes together, breathing in when you're ready, and go ahead and lift with both legs extended. When you do so, remember the head just comes slightly up towards the ceiling, okay, depending on how high you can get that lift. If you are with your legs extended, you're thinking of perhaps pulling those legs together and toes, maybe pulling the toes down towards the end of the floor or the mat beyond you there. Really opening out the chest. With the last 2, guys, whichever level you're at, open the chest, shoulder blades back and down. Last one. And pause with the bottom down, taking your legs towards the end of the mat. Bring your hands up and over behind you, just sweeping those legs forwards and just forward fold for a moment and pause. Take a breath in. Wonderful. Well done. Sitting up nice and tall. Take your right leg, cross it over your left. Okay, right foot over left. Grab hold of your knee with your left arm and hug it in towards you a bit more. That might be enough for you to get a stretch around your glutes. If not, you can also add in a slight look over your right shoulder. Okay. All righty. So you're looking away from the direction of this knee that's crossed over. Okay. If that makes sense. Pause and hold here for a second. Breathe in. And smile. Wonderful. Releasing yourself to face front, switching legs. So you've got your left leg now crossing over your right knee. Okay, right hand comes around and scoops that left knee in towards the chest as your first kind of port of call. And then if you want to, that's enough. Or maybe you want to dig a bit deeper, look over that left shoulder. Again, find space in the spine with a bit of a breath in, exhale. Take a look a little bit deeper over that shoulder. And one more breath in. Gorgeous, well done. Bring your body facing forwards and releasing the legs. Now you can bring yourself up into a standing position. You can cross over your legs, perhaps into 4-point kneeling, or tuck your knees underneath you. Walk your hands back to your knees, tuck your toes into a small ball. You may prefer to just go head straight into a crouch position, that's fine, but just bring the chin into your throat space as you release your heels towards the floor. Soft knees if you like, or straight legs if you're really feeling a bit more flexible. And then chin into your throat space, start to peel yourself back up. Now you can walk your hands up your legs to support you if you need to, but try and really think of the restack from the base of the spine. Remember, as we talked about last week, just placing one vertebrae on top of the other and bring your gaze to the horizon. Step to the center of the mat. Okay, bring your hands to your side, bring them up towards the ceiling and reach through the whole of the body towards the right. Take a breath in towards the left and bring yourself to center. Turn the palms away from each other and reach down by your sides and nice and low. Soften your knees. Ooh, still clickety clack in there. When you're ready, breathe in one more time towards the center. Over to the right and to the left. And bring yourself to center. Turn the palms away from each other. Reach the hands down by your sides. Reset the shoulder blades back and down. Feel the weight into the heels. Feel the hands reach to your sides. Feel the chest nice and open, the belly engaged, slight pelvic floor. Breathe in through the nose. And send your breath into the lung space and grow through the crown of the head with the last 2 breaths. Perhaps as you exhale, just gently drawing the belly to spine and the pelvic floor area to remind yourself of that activation. And with our last exhale, open your eyes. And we are done. Thank you very much for joining me for this week and our hour of Pilates. And I hope to see you all again very soon. Well done, everybody. Bye-bye for now.